Before we start with today's video, once again, I am promoting the Pennsylvania / Idaho / North Carolina / Oregon / Kentucky election night stream happening tomorrow, May 17th at 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is right, folks. 6:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going live tomorrow. The link to the live stream is in the description down below. Of course, share with your friends, but also click the button that says set reminder. So the second that the stream starts, you will get notified. Again, follow the, the stream. Just click the reminder button. That's all you gotta do. All right, folks, no intro today. Let's get right into the video because there will be 2 videos today. All right, so we're going to be talking about the 4 other, statewide races happening, outside of Pennsylvania this video. The second video, which will come up later today, will be focusing on the 3 statewide races in Pennsylvania. So we're going to be talking about the other races happening that, are interesting mostly, but just, as of now, they're not as huge as the other ones. So, before we forget, of course, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash that like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes, of course, go follow that mysterious Twitter account in the description down below. And, yeah, so let's get right into it, folks. There is essentially, 4 other states that have primaries tomorrow. And I made a video about the House races. So, again, if you want to see the House race stuff, go watch that video. This is more focused on the statewide races. So, let us start with the most interesting one, Oregon. Now, the Senate race, I think there is a Senate race there. Maybe, I don't know. But either way, the only race that's interesting in Oregon is, of course, the gubernatorial race, which, boy oh boy, this may be the best chance Republicans have had in years to flip back the Oregon governorship. Now, the reason is simple. The Democrats, they have a shit show of primary. I mean, look at all these candidates. But again, there is essentially 2 main candidates, Tina Kotek and Tobias Reed. Now, of course, Tobias Reed is considered the quote-unquote moderate. The quote-unquote moderate in this race. While the other one, Tina Kotek, as you can see from her endorsements, yeah, she's the quote-unquote progressive in this race. So yeah, this is an interesting race, and the only polling we do have is Kotek up by 5. Now, in my opinion, if Tobias Reed is the nominee, this makes this race significantly easier. Again, he's a straight state treasurer. He's done good in past elections. Tina Kotek, though, she's a progressive, and I know Oregon is the homeland of Antifa, the communists, whatever. But either way, in a red wave year, when you're going to see a lot more of the I guess you could say more of the independent-minded suburbanite vote, this is not a good sign for Democrats. But that's not the main cause for concern for the Democrats. Scroll down here. Betsy Johnson. She's a third-party candidate, and boy oh boy, is she probably going to screw the Democrats over. This is a situation where Betsy Johnson, she's going to take at minimum 11% of the vote. That's a bare minimum. That's one poll we have her at 11. The rest, you have one at 21%. So this is not a good sign for Democrats, because not only do you have a Democrat who is running as an independent, but you have a progressive running in a red wave here where you're going to see a lot more of the quote-unquote independent-minded suburbanite who, again, in Portland, the suburbanites, for some reason, they're a bit more, easy on Antifa, but I do think either way, they're not too happy with what Antifa did to Portland for months. Again, it's not as bad of backlash like it was we saw in Seattle, where Seattle elected a frickin' Republican attorney general, or district attorney. But either way, this is an election where Republicans could have a serious shot of winning. And in my opinion, Republicans have 2 main candidates, Christine Drazan and Bud Pierce. In my opinion, all right, Bud Pierce is a good candidate, but I think if you want to win this race, Christine Drazan is the best candidate for this race. And right now, it appears she is the front runner. So I do think she's going to win tomorrow, and I think she will be have a serious shot of becoming the next governor of the great state of Oregon. Again, there is a serious shot at it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but there is a chance of it happening. Now, for Oregon, I recommend that everybody focus on what happens in Marion, Clackamas, Hood River, and Washington. Just focus on the turnout in these 4 counties, all right? If it's like 50-50 in like something crazy like Clackamas or Hood River, that's a bad sign for Democrats. This is part of the state that's fairly Democrat. This is more the suburban part of Portland. But again, if turnout's bad for Democrats here, they're in a lot of trouble, especially with the third-party vote being factored in. So that's the Oregon race. Again, that's pretty much the only main race in Oregon, though there is a big, I think it's a House race that has a, you know, kind of like a Kohler v. Cisneros race, where it's like, oh yes, the progressive versus a quote-unquote moderate, you know, the moderate congressman who may be in trouble like Kohler is down in Texas. But that's really not important. I want to see what happens there tomorrow, but again, this is focused on the governor's races and stuff like that. Now we have Idaho. Now, there's really, technically speaking, there is a Senate race, but it's like, who gives a shit? Who cares about the Senate race in Idaho? We all know who the nominee is going to be. But there is 2 other statewide races. The first one is the governorship. There is a serious primary happening between the incumbent governor, Brad Little, awful governor, and the lieutenant governor, Janice McGeachin. Now, from the polls here, this is, not looking too good for the Trump-endorsed Janice McGeachin. I mean, she's a good lieutenant governor, but as of now, I don't think she's going to win this race. Again, there's a chance these polls just suck. But you're like at 29 to 30%, Little's at 60. Again, there's be some bad polls, but it's like, I still think, especially without a runoff, that Brad Little will win this race easily. Now, the other race, though, that is, in my opinion, a bit more important, is the Attorney General race. And essentially, you have 2 candidates in this race. You got the incumbent rhino, Lawrence Wasden, who's just useless. I mean, he's literally done nothing as Attorney General for decades. But then you also have the Giga Chad himself, Raul Labrador. This guy was a former representative of Idaho's 1st, and he was a candidate for governor in 2018. Should have won that race, but of course it was like one of those 3-way races where one candidate won because, he got 30% of the vote, everybody else got like 29%. It's one of those races that happened. He should have won that race, but this is a race I do think Lawrence Wasden's losing. Labrador has the endorsements of Mike Pompeo, Ted Cruz, Mike Lee. Not the best group of people, but still, he is getting bigger names. And you scroll down to the polls here, and it seems like that Labrador is getting a comfortable enough lead against Wasden, which again, it could change. But if we could get Labrador's Attorney General in Idaho, that would be a huge W, because this guy here sucks. This guy has done nothing. He's absurdly useless. So yeah, I hope that this clown gets primaried out. Again, without runoffs, we just need to get, one more vote than this clown, and we have a new Attorney General of Idaho. And we all know that, Idaho, it's a safe Republican seat. There's really nowhere I would say that's, interesting to look at, though I do think if, the turnout in Ottawa County where Boise is, if that's 60-40 Republican, that's a very good sign. I mean, this is a part of the state that has been trending a bit Democrat. Again, Boise used to be one of the most Republican cities in America. Now it's being, infested by these leftists. But if Republicans can get good turnout in Boise, get 60-40, that's a good sign that, nationwide, these former Republican strongholds have gotten closer and closer and closer, have a chance of some reversion, which I hope happens. Again, there is a serious chance it does, but again, this is the county that I do recommend everybody focuses on election night. Now, we have a race in Kentucky, but it's I honestly, I don't care. Rand Paul is going to beat Charles Booker, whatever you want to call that loser, by at least, bare minimum, 20 points. Give me a break. That Charles Booker is going to win this race. No, he is not. This is a race that Rand Paul is going to win. And again, the only thing I would say, watch out for is, I guess, how the turnout looks in Jefferson and Fayette. I mean, again, this is where Lexington and Louisville is. I mean, it's like, yeah, Republicans are going to win this race. But again, just like, Boise and whatever, it is a good indicator how turnout is looking in these areas that I wouldn't call these, former Republican strongholds, but they used to be a bit closer than they are now. If they are, closer, that is a good sign. It is an indicator for a bigger red wave than we expect, because Jefferson, Biden won by 20. If it's like within, 15, for turnout wise, Democrats again are in big trouble. Now we have the final race that is, in my opinion, the, outside of Kentucky, the clearest cut race of them all. North Carolina, there is a Senate race happening as we speak. And this is going to be the only one where I make a serious prediction for, okay? Again, I don't have a graphic up because I think this is quite an easy prediction in my opinion. But Ted Budd is going to win this race by, look, he's going to get like 41, 42% of the vote at the bare minimum. Pat McCrory, probably around 20%. So I do think Ted Budd beats McCrory by a minimum 20 points. The polls are showing this. Turnout is showing this. In all the above, this is a state that I think, Pat McCrory blew it. Or a race, I should say. If he never attacked Trump, he maybe had a chance of being within 10. But it's like your campaign blew up when that happened. So Ted Budd, in my opinion, will get, more than 42, 43% of the vote, while Pat McCrory probably around 20. So again, I see it as a 20-point victory for Ted Budd. But that's not really the important thing. The important thing is to see how turnout looks in specific counties. Again, Chatham, Mecklenburg, place like Cumberland, Wake, Durham, etc. These are counties, a research triangle. If Republicans are dominating, or not, I wouldn't say dominating. If they're doing respectable in Mecklenburg, which used to be a Republican area, if they're doing better in places like Cumberland, doing better in places like Hokie, even Wake, if they do good at, like, let's say they're 50-50 in Chatham, again, just like what's happening, what I said about Idaho, what I said about Kentucky, this is a part of the country that used to be a lot more Republican. There's a lot of suburbanites, there's a lot of the college-educated voters in this part of the country. It's called the Research Triangle for that reason. But also, I recommend people look at up here in Northeast Carolina. There is a lot of black voters in this part of the state. But if Republicans are able to pick off a couple of these counties, like, Vance County, place like Pitt, if they just pick them off, not, win them by 20 points, but, get a majority of the vote be for the Republican primary, again, that's not a good sign for Democrats if some of the most blackest parts of the country are voting more for the Republican primary than for the Democrat primary. So yeah, that's what I have to say about these races. Again, they're not as intriguing, in my opinion, as the the Pennsylvania race. But again, some of these counties are going to be important, even New Hanover. These are the important counties to look at, important areas to look at for turnout. Because if the areas I said are a lot closer, a lot more Republican, or turnout just bad for the Democrats, that's a great sign for the Republicans going to this fall. And again, these races are not going to be particularly close, in my opinion. Again, the Attorney General race in Idaho and the governorship in Oregon, maybe they're going to be close. But outside of that, these races are kind of already decided, in my opinion. But again, it is still nice to look at. And again, I did a race in the House races yesterday. And later today, I will be releasing a video about my final predictions for the Pennsylvania races. There's 3 statewide races. There's 1 House race I forgot to talk about, but I'll get to that when that video comes out. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit the little bell, and yes, of course, go follow that mysterious Twitter account in the description down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Godspeed to all of you.